Welcome to the Professional Evil Perspective. This we might be making up is season 3, episode 13. I say we might be making it up because as we were talking about beforehand, like, okay, who gets to introduce it? I said season 3, episode 13. Is that right? And David said, I don't know. I made it up. So I'm Kevin Johnson.
And I'm Nathan Sweaney.
But is
The
that
thing
made
I
up?
know, no, well, technically, yes, somebody did make that up at some point. The thing I know is that no matter how bad we screw it up, Kathy and Josh will clean it up and take care of it.
Exactly. Right? Like, this is the wonder of having people like Kathy and Josh following us around. Like, I don't know. I can't even think of a phrase. We'll just go with it. So today we're going to be discussing.
Before you go there, I got a question for you, and it's going to lead into that. What is your favorite TikTok video?
I don't have a favorite TikTok video because all my main experience with TikTok is, and don't get me wrong, I have TikTok on my phone. I check it out every once in a while. My main experience with TikTok
have it on your phone?
Either. Yeah. Where else would I put it? I have it in my shoes. My main experience is either Susan texting me a link to a TikTok that she thinks I should watch. And in almost every case, they've been hilarious. Or one of my daughters sharing something with me, like, "Hey, Dad, you got to see this," and I watch it. I do scroll through it. I follow a number of crafty people.
Sure.
I don't know another way to put it. I am fascinated by people who make things like stained glass and woodworking and stuff. Like, so it's like if you look at my follow list, it's all of these people that just make stuff I wish I could make. But so what is your favorite TikTok? Because I worry that this is going to turn into a joke.
I mean, I'm very similar. Like, I really like the creative things to do in your garage, or like, hey, here's how to get this thing out, right? Like, stuff like that's interesting. I love some of there's some funny people out there. Like, Jack the Whipper. Have you seen this guy?
I love him.
Oh my gosh, he is so stinking funny. He's like a news anchor. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Like, that's his favorite job. And
should I acknowledge the fact that the first couple times I saw his video, and they were from a distance, I wanted to know how he had grown that mustache. And then I got a close-up of him, and it's drawn on. And I was so disappointed. Because the first couple times I saw him, like a video of him, it was like somebody in the audience taking it. So he's up on stage, right? And then when I saw the close-up, I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. Because it's like, so yeah, he's awesome.
I love the ones where, like, there's a husband and wife, and she's always in the background, blonde hair. He's always up front saying, like, expert marriage tip. And it's something like, if your wife seems really, really stressed and worn out, there's one important thing you need to remember: gifts, because you shouldn't have to put up with her crap. Go buy yourself something nice.
I have not seen that one. The one I have seen,
it's hilarious.
There's a couple, and he is constantly singing made up songs based on, like, Weird Al. You know how Weird Al will take a real song and convert it, right? This guy is constant.
Is that an Asian couple?
Yes.
She's like doing her makeup, or he's like, "When will this be ready?" Yes,
right. And he's singing songs, and I know they're acting. I know they're arranged. That, like, this guy did not just pop out with a microphone setup, right? The other one that I love is TikTok photographer. And it's this guy, or TikTok camera guy. Because I guess he always duets. I think that's what it's called, right? So you see a clip.
I've never actually made a TikTok.
Neither have I. What he does is he takes these ridiculous videos that, like, okay, the person is pretending to lose their phone or stumble around, and then he pretends to be the videographer that was taking, because like, it's obviously staged, but they're trying to make it look, so he's in like a ghillie suit sitting in the corner of the mall, or like, it's just, he's hilarious. That's one. I don't know. I love them. But I'm not, like, rarely do I go into TikTok. I will also say very clearly, I do not believe TikTok is a national security threat that is worthwhile at
I mean,
dealing with.
that makes you part of the minority,
I'm
right?
aware of that based on the article we're talking about. So there was a survey, right?
Yeah, it's a Pew Research survey. So say what you will about Pew Research, good, bad. They put out a lot of info. I question their methods sometimes, every time, but yeah, the article here says the majority of Americans say TikTok is a threat to national security.
51% is a majority.
50, I think it's higher than that.
50.00001
Yeah.
is a majority.
So they point out that only 17% of Americans say the platform is not a threat for sure, and 23% say they're not sure. So what is that? 40? So there's 60% that believe to some degree it is a threat to national security. That's a pretty stinking big percentage, right?
Yes, and I still think it's stupid. Here is the issue I have with this. This to me is the same thing as right, critical infrastructure. Right, we have expanded the definition of critical infrastructure to include my aunt's grandma's sister's dog's bowl,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
It's
And
everything.
I'm not saying I'm not saying they're not critical. I'm just saying that we have, it's the same thing that TSA did with the orange threat level, right? We have
Yeah.
we have expanded something to a point where it is almost meaningless to use the term.
If
And
everything is
here's
critical, nothing is critical.
exactly. And here's my biggest issue with calling this a national security threat. And I'm not like, let me be very clear. If you qualify that with, hey, is the use of TikTok on military bases a national security threat? My answer is yes. Right? But yes, of
Sure.
course. Right? We saw that with Strava,
Strava. Yeah, yeah.
Strava, right?
I literally just started using that today.
I know it's what made me think of it, right? I
Yeah.
signed up for it a while ago, but I don't use it because I'm fat. Um,
Yeah.
but uh, Strava, I think it was them, release or it might have been Fitbit, released a map, like map data of
Yeah.
where people were using the system, and what you could see is the patrol routes around the military base,
Right.
right? Because the soldier would have a Fitbit on and walk in their route, and right.
Yeah.
So yes, if you were to say something like, "Is TikTok a national security threat in Congress?" Yes, except there are certain Congress people I'd like them to pay more attention to TikTok because they do less damage. But
Yeah.
that's a different story. But when you say something like it's a national security threat, okay, you dig into that. Why? And what I've read time and time and time again is that the reason it's a national security threat, I don't know that this is everybody's opinion, but this is the opinion I've heard the most, is that the data collection by an organization owned by Chinese interests
Yeah.
is a national security threat. And my answer to that point is yeah, whatever. And the reason I say yeah, whatever is data brokers are collecting that data, and no data broker that I've read about or talked to has said, "Oh yeah, don't worry, we won't sell to anybody in China." Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So
This is where unless you can give me a different national security threat outside
yeah.
of the one, like I said, like at a
Yeah.
military base or something like that.
So I've got a little bit of a different perspective, and this is sort of speculation, but I think it's fair based on what I've seen. Um, with every other platform out there, like if you look at say the top 10 apps, top 100 apps, whatever, I don't know. When you break down the percentage of people that have it, there aren't any others that I know of that are single-handedly controlled by a company in China. So that's one piece of it. The second is if let's say there's a vulnerability on your phone, a 0 day that allows us to, hey, if you've got an application already installed on the phone, you push down the 0 day, and now you can access maybe other data on the phone or crash the phone or whatever, right? Like those don't happen often, but we've seen them happen, right? If I'm going to attack Facebook or whatever the heck we're calling Twitter now, or Amazon or whatever, right? First, I have to compromise those American companies, push down that exploit through their app, and then compromise the phone. Whereas with TikTok, if China said, hey, we're taking control of this app and we're going to push down this malicious update, theoretically, with one stroke, they would have the ability to not only compromise, but possibly disable every phone in the US. Like the likelihood of that seems very, very small. But imagine a world where tomorrow there are no active cell phones in the US.
Yeah.
Like to me, this is a classic, very, very low likelihood, extremely high risk. So
Yeah.
how do you define, critical high, low risk findings in something like that?
How many Chinese made chips are in your phone?
Yeah, but they don't get updates the same way. All the updates that I
Really?
get, I
You're
don't
telling
think
me that none of the firmware chips in your phone can get an update?
not directly from the chip manufacturer. I think it's going to come
Really?
through Google or I would assume that because Apple updates come through Apple.
You're
Maybe I'm
telling me
wrong.
that
I don't know.
you're telling me that that wireless chip in your phone or your isn't capable of getting its own update.
I don't know. It might
And
be capable, but I don't believe it is. I
I
believe all the updates that the system on
it
my phone
is
come from.
it is possible. The U.S. military released a while ago uh, research where they showed that chips can have embedded update capability that is outside of control of the
Okay.
rest of the device, right?
And,
And that's
yeah.
that's why I say is I'm not saying TikTok isn't a threat. I'm saying this is. I guess I should say it clear. My issue with this is, and I use this example all the time, so I know you've heard it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same as the bank calling me and asking me about the tea kettle threat, right? And I said, "What tea kettle threat?" Because I had no idea what they were talking about. And basically, what is that? We talked about it last time. Daily Mail,
Yeah.
the Daily Mail, and the BBC put out an article about this vulnerability in tea kettles. I was at InGuardians. That's how old this was, right? And a bank called the security team of a bank called me and asked me what they should do about the tea kettle threat. And I said, "What tea kettle threat?" Because I had not read the article yet. I hadn't seen it, whatever. But it got some news. And they said, "Oh," and they sent me the link. And I looked at it. And sure enough, there was this smart tea kettle that had a web server that it ran. And you could compromise it. And from that, you could pivot onto the network that that device was on. And so I said to this bank person, the security person for a bank, I said to him, "How many of these tea kettles do you have on your network?" Because I mean, like that, right? Like,
Yeah. Or what is?
and his answer was, "I don't know." And I said, "Okay, you have a bigger problem than a tea kettle. Your problem is you don't know what's on your network, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a
Inventory
different
management.
issue."
Right.
And that's why I say is I believe that TikTok absolutely is some level of a threat. But I believe that there are so many other threats that we have ignored because they aren't as clickbaity as
Maybe.
TikTok that I'd rather work on those.
Yeah.
Look,
I'm gonna. No. Let me push back a little bit on that because, like, so the idea of the firmware, the chip, the wireless setting, whatever, like the
yeah,
idea that stuff could reach out and update. Well, yes, that's possible. If that stuff is doing so maliciously, that code would have to have been built into it from the scratch.
yep,
And one, the likelihood of that happening, that it's pinging out occasionally without it being discovered and anybody identifying that, is
yeah,
extremely small. Two, if a company integrates that kind of stuff and they get discovered, the company's done, right? Like
yeah,
they're done. They're going to, Google, Apple, nobody else is ever going to use them again. So there's a huge risk in trying to pull off that type of attack and a very small likelihood of it being successful. With the
yeah,
TikTok thing, yes, it would be this burns TikTok for good, but as a first strike capability or from a nation state perspective of we're going to use this attack, to me it seems like there's very low risk in having the capability there until you decide to exploit it, and that's
yeah.
what makes it different than the other things you're talking about.
But see, I actually don't think that makes it that much different. And the reason is those chips, the wireless chip already broadcast traffic, right? And I'm using this example because I believe this example is as paranoid sounding as TikTok being the first strike capability against the United States, right? I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying that is so unlikely. And time again, if China wants into our network, they have access to our network.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about just access to the network. I get what you're saying. I think we can agree to disagree on the likelihood of that or how difficult it would be to pull off, whatever.
Oh, I think it'd be hard
I
to
think
pull off.
no. I'm saying
What
that
you're describing, I don't think is hard to pull off.
no. What I'm saying is hard to pull off is not the right word. Um, the there's a I don't know the military term for it. There's a term for the setup that's necessary to have an attack be ready to go. Like to me, the TikTok thing, as far fetched as it might be, it's ready to go. Like there's nothing else that has to happen. With the what you're talking about, yes, there are other scenarios that are possible, but the setup of it is so significant and more likely to be caught that if I were a nation state, that to me that's a dangerous thing to take a chance with. Right? That's going to create all kinds of political, diplomatic issues and all that. But let's move on because I think we made that case. Um, what was it? What you just said? Yeah.
I said that there's so many other threats, right? You want to
Yeah.
talk about data security threats? We have data brokers that know every single thing about us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And that I agree with that. I don't think that collecting your data, yes, I think it's a likely threat, but like you said, there's so many data brokers that are collecting information about me.
Yeah.
I've kind of given up at that point.
So have I. Like my opinion is everything I've got is public.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting. Do you remember when Trump made a big deal about he was going to ban Twitter? Or not Twitter,
TikTok.
TikTok? Do you
Yeah.
remember that? And like
Yep.
everybody on the Democratic side was like, oh my gosh, this guy's unhinged. This is absurd. There's no way, blah, blah, blah. And then what was it about 3 months ago when both sides, like Biden basically said the same thing. He's like, yeah, we got a problem. This has to be banned. And if you look at the people that supported that, I don't know where the status of that bill. I don't know if it's still making its way through Congress.
I don't know.
There was a bill, I think, to give DHS maybe CISA, something like that, the ability to just like shut down something point blank on their own initiative.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
But what I found interesting about that is that bill it wasn't just about TikTok, but everybody knew it was primarily about TikTok.
Yeah.
And it was supported by both Republicans and Democrats. And if you looked through the majority of the supporters, they were all either on the National Security Committee, the Intelligence Committee, like they were the people that had buy-in to intelligence that nobody else had. And everybody that I saw that spoke out against it, as soon as they got more information, they shut up. So I'm at least willing to, I mean, from the way we've seen that move forward, I'm willing to say I think there's more to it than we realize. I don't know for sure what that is, but I do agree with you. I think it's been expanded in the news. So Americans chase whatever sounds exciting and bloody, right?
Is it the Restrict Acts?
That sounds familiar. It was within the last 4 months.
No, that's not it. That's not
Okay.
it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Here's my issue.
We can find a link to it.
Yeah, here's my issue. The same I always have. Saying things like the government has access to information that we don't have, and when they looked at it, they stopped complaining about it. Sounds right, but there's Navy people right now testifying to Congress that we have UFOs, and the government lied to them. And I'm not saying we don't have UFOs.
I was going to say, are you saying
I want us to have UFOs. I want aliens to exist. I want the alien ship to appear and decloak above me, right? I've read science fiction since I was this damn big. I want it to be real, right?
What if our science fiction was what was wrong? What if the future we're living in today is all based on technology from aliens, and they're just really benign and boring?
I'm good with that. I want them to be exciting. Here is my answer as anybody who says to me, you know what, those Congress people, they have access to stuff that we don't know, and they have some level of, my answer is very simply Marjorie Taylor Greene. And there it is. There's my answer. I mean, realistically, I'm not saying there isn't something there. And when I've talked to people, and I've talked to people in the know, whatever, that thing that is getting them to shut up is implied to be exactly what you're saying. That it's one step for China to take control of all these phones, right? And if that's all it is, then I stand by my statement. They're right. That's what I've heard. I don't know. I just think this is the same thing to me as and maybe I'm simplifying things. Maybe I'm an idiot. Okay, I am an idiot. But I this is the same as, hey, what do we do about that latest whiz bang 0 day?
Yeah.
Well, hey, how about you get Windows XP off your network? Right? When you get Windows XP off your network, I will talk to you about the latest 0 day.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
When
it's the same answer, right? If you had an inventory and knew, and were managing your risks and vulnerabilities and knew, hey, these are my issues and this, hey, here's the thing I got to take care of. All of a sudden, when Log4j shows up, you don't have to say, oh my gosh, what do we do? You look at your inventory, you say, that's where it is. Let's
go fix it. Right. But the problem right now is, especially when we talk about cell phones and apps and things that are popular, what we've got is no idea what the risks are. There are millions of installs of malware infected Android apps today. Right?
Yeah.
Under control of the dark web.
Yeah, I think the difference is each one of those have a very small.
No, I'm not saying
area.
that makes it the same. I'm saying there are millions of malware infected devices today. Right? But we have no concept of what they are, where they are, everything else. TikTok is an easy thing without that asset inventory, without that risk inventory for us to look and go. And it's obvious, right? TikTok's on 60 billion devices. I made up that number, right?
It might be.
It might be. That's an easy answer of saying, okay, that's the biggest risk. But I think, in my opinion, my gut tells me it's only the biggest risk because we don't actually have our arms around what the real risks are. It may turn out to be the biggest risk, but it's the biggest risk right now because we don't know the other stuff. That's why I have heartburn over this. Oh, we got to ban it. I also have heartburn over that because,
I think for me, like, we all have individual kind of our own risk register, right? Like Eric, one of our other principal consultants, if you even mention the word risk, he buttons up his shirt and he gets chilly, right? Like, he just, you know what I mean? Like, whereas I'm like, let's play it out and see what happens. But we all have different ways that we assess the likelihood, the potential impact, the difficulty to pull it off, all that kind of stuff. I think, to me, I still think the potential impact, if it is a threat, the way they're saying, I think the potential impact is high enough that it warrants discussion. But at the end of the day,
I think it absolutely warrants discussion.
I still have it on my phone. My thought is,
I was going to say, I still have it on my phone.
My thought is, if every phone in the U.S. is compromised and destroyed, me having one that's not compromised is not going to make a big difference.
Not going to be very useful.
Right? So it's like, oh, well, like, I might as well play with the group and go down with the group.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I am going to go see if I can find some more videos to share with you.
I'm gonna play around on TikTok, and I'm actually gonna record my first TikTok, and it's gonna be about the national security threat of me on TikTok. No,
here's my biggest complaint, and it's not just about TikTok. It's TikTok, it's Instagram, what do they call it? Reels. It's the Facebook videos. It's YouTube Shorts, whatever. They all have a different process for how you pause a video or how you restart a video or how you share. Like, it's so frustrating. I'm like, wait, do I click or do I double click? Oh, shoot, I don't want to like that one. Oh, I didn't want to save that one. I just want to, it drives me crazy. I wish we need a standard, right? On all of that.
Yes, we do.
All right.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's the end of the episode. Come check out all of our other crap. How's that?
That's it.
That's it.
Check out our crap.